You know that moment when you suddenly realize you're breathing and then you can't stop thinking about it? That's nothing compared to what I'm about to show you. Self-awareness is supposed to set you free, right? That's what everyone says. Know yourself, and you'll be happier, more successful, more authentic. But nobody talks about what happens when you can't turn it off, when every conversation feels like watching yourself in a mirror, when you become so aware of your own patterns that you can't just live anymore. I'm talking about the point where self-awareness stops being helpful and starts becoming a prison. And if you've ever felt like you're too deep in your own head, this is going to make a lot of sense. Let me paint you a picture. You're at a party, talking to someone new. Before you became self-aware, you'd just talk. You'd laugh, make jokes, connect with people naturally. But now you're watching yourself talk. You notice your hand gestures. You catch yourself using that phrase you always use. You see the slight change in their expression and wonder if you said something wrong. You're not in the conversation anymore. You're observing it. You're both the actor and the audience, and it's exhausting. This is what I call the observer trap. It's when your awareness of yourself becomes so constant that you split into two people. There's the you that's living, and the you that's watching the you that's living. And once this split happens, it's really hard to go back. Think about it like this. When you learn to ride a bike, you have to think about everything: balance, pedaling, steering. But eventually, it becomes automatic. You just ride. Your body knows what to do without your brain micromanaging every movement. But self-awareness does the opposite. It takes things that used to be automatic and makes you conscious of them again. Suddenly you're thinking about how you stand, how you smile, how you say hello. Things that used to flow naturally now feel forced because you're directing them. And here's where it gets really weird. The more you try to be authentic, the more fake you feel. Because authentic people don't think about being authentic. They just are. But you're thinking about it, which means you're performing authenticity, which is the least authentic thing you can do. It's like trying to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more awake you become. The more you try to be natural, the more unnatural you feel. I remember the first time this really hit me. I was telling a story to some friends, a story I'd told before. And halfway through, I realized I was performing it. I knew which parts got laughs. I knew where to pause for effect. I was optimizing the story based on past feedback. And in that moment, I felt completely fake. Even though the story was true, even though I genuinely wanted to share it, the awareness that I was performing made it feel like a lie. I couldn't tell if I was sharing the story because I wanted to connect or because I wanted validation. That's the thing about self-awareness. It makes you question your own motivations for everything. Why did you say that? Was it genuine, or were you trying to look good? Did you help that person because you care, or because you want to feel like a good person? Are you even capable of doing anything without a hidden agenda? These questions never stop. They run in the background of your mind like an app you can't close, and over time, they change how you see yourself. You start noticing your patterns. The way you always steer conversations back to yourself, the way you use humor to avoid serious topics, the way you mirror other people's energy to make them like you. And once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. It's like finding out your favorite song is actually really simple, just 3 chords repeated over and over. The magic disappears once you know the trick. And your personality is just patterns. It's your go-to responses, your default reactions, your comfortable scripts. When you become aware of all these patterns, you realize that you're basically a collection of habits running on autopilot. Which leads to a pretty uncomfortable question. If your personality is just patterns, and you can see all the patterns, then who are you really? Are you the patterns or the thing observing the patterns? Some people would say this is enlightenment, that recognizing you're not your thoughts or your patterns is the whole point. But there's a difference between intellectual understanding and actually living it. Because even if you understand that you're not your patterns, you still have to use those patterns to function in the world. You still have to be a person with a personality, with consistent behaviors. You can't just dissolve into pure awareness and expect to hold down a job or maintain relationships. So you're stuck in this weird middle ground. Too aware to be unconscious, but not aware enough to transcend the whole thing. You're in self-awareness limbo. and this limbo has real consequences. One of the biggest is something I call decision paralysis. When you're aware of all your biases, all your emotional reactions, all the hidden factors influencing your choices, making decisions becomes nearly impossible. Should you take that job? Well, are you drawn to it because it's actually right for you, or because of ego? Because of fear? Because society says you should want it? You can analyze forever and never find a pure, unbiased reason. The truth is, there's no such thing as a decision made without emotions, biases, or subconscious influences. Those things are part of how we make decisions. But when you're hyper-aware of them, you start thinking there's a correct way to decide, a rational way, and you get stuck trying to find it. Meanwhile, people with less self-awareness just decide. They go with their gut, they don't question every impulse. And weirdly, they often seem happier for it. This creates another problem. The awareness gap between you and other people starts to feel like a wall. You're over here, seeing all these layers and complexities, and they're just living. And you can't tell if you're seeing things more clearly, or if you've just made everything unnecessarily complicated. You watch someone get genuinely excited about something you find shallow. Or you see someone get upset about something that seems obviously like a projection of their own issues, and you feel disconnected. Not because you think you're better, but because you can't relate anymore. It's lonely, being this aware, because you can't really explain it to people who aren't there yet. And if you try, you sound like you think you're enlightened or superior, which isn't the feeling at all. If anything, you're envious of their ability to just be. Here's another dark part. Self-awareness can become a form of control. When you're constantly monitoring yourself, you're trying to manage how you come across. You're trying to optimize your personality. And while this might sound like growth, it's often just fear dressed up as self-improvement. You're not accepting yourself and growing naturally. You're micromanaging yourself because you're afraid of being judged, afraid of being rejected, afraid of being seen as you actually are. And the cruel irony is that this constant self-monitoring makes you less authentic, which is probably the exact thing you're trying to avoid. People can feel when you're in your head. They can sense when you're performing instead of being present. So you're working really hard to come across well, but the effort itself is what makes you come across poorly. There's also the issue of narrative. Humans are story-making machines. We're constantly creating narratives about who we are, why we do things, what our life means, and self-awareness lets you see yourself constructing these narratives in real time. You notice how you edit your memories to fit your self-image, how you rationalize your mistakes, how you take credit for successes but blame circumstances for failures. You see yourself being the unreliable narrator of your own life, and once you see that, you can't trust your own story anymore. Was your childhood actually difficult, or are you exaggerating to explain your current problems? Are you actually an introvert? Or did you just decide that one day and start acting accordingly? Every story you tell about yourself becomes suspect, and without a story, who are you? This is what some people call ego death, but it's not the peaceful dissolving into oneness that spiritual teachers talk about. It's more like standing in the ruins of your self-concept, not sure what to build next, or if you should build anything at all. Some people at this stage dive into spirituality, looking for answers. Others go to therapy. Some just try to distract themselves and hope the feeling goes away. But here's what I've learned. You can't go backwards. You can't unsee what you've seen. The only way out is through. And through means sitting with the discomfort of not having solid answers. It means accepting that you're a process, not a fixed thing. It means being okay with contradictions and uncertainties. It means letting yourself be messy and inconsistent without immediately analyzing why or trying to fix it. Because here's the thing. The self-awareness that causes all these problems can also be what frees you from them, but not by using it to control yourself more, by using it to let go. When you're aware that you're performing, you can choose to stop performing. When you notice you're stuck in your head, you can gently come back to the present moment. When you catch yourself questioning your motivations, you can acknowledge that everyone has mixed motivations, and that's okay. The dark side of self-awareness isn't really about the awareness itself. It's about what you do with it. If you use it as a weapon against yourself, as a way to judge and control and perfect, then yeah, it's going to make you miserable. But if you use it as a tool for compassion, for understanding, for accepting your humanity, it becomes something else entirely. This doesn't mean the observer trap goes away completely. You'll still have moments where you're watching yourself live instead of just living. But you'll get better at noticing it and dropping it. It becomes less sticky. You start to realize that the you observing and the you being observed aren't actually separate. They're both just different modes of the same thing. And you don't have to choose between them. You can flow between them. The goal isn't to kill the observer. It's to make friends with it, to stop seeing it as a problem to fix and start seeing it as part of your experience. And slowly, something shifts. The questions don't stop, but they lose their weight. You can wonder about your motivations without it being a crisis. You can notice your patterns without feeling trapped by them. You can watch yourself and live yourself at the same time. This is what acceptance actually looks like, not the fake kind where you pretend everything's fine. The real kind where you stop fighting with reality and just let things be what they are, including yourself. So if you're stuck in the dark side of self-awareness right now, if you feel like you're too deep in your own head and you can't find a way out, I want you to know something. This phase doesn't last forever. You're not broken. You're just in transition. You're between the person who lived without questioning and the person who can live with the questions. And that in-between space is uncomfortable, but it's not permanent. Keep going. Be patient with yourself. And remember that awareness is only painful when you use it to judge. When you use it to understand, it becomes a gift. Even when you can't unsee yourself, you can learn to be okay with what you see. If this hit home, watch the next one.